This conference will now be recorded.
So the topic for today, the part we are going to cover is the formation of cholesterol. Cholesterol is the type of fat that is exclusively found only in animal, as in it is also called as animal sterol or animal fat. Plants will not contain cholesterol. The bacteria, the fungi, the virus, they also will not contain cholesterol. These usually contain what is called as ergosterol, which looks similar to cholesterol, but only animals contain this animal sterol, which is also called as cholesterol. So there is about 140 grams of cholesterol in an adult human being, which is present, and you can see the structure of cholesterol on your screens. Now, this cholesterol is one part of the cell membrane, the cell wall, or the cell that has to be formed. It requires the the cell membrane requires the presence of these cholesterol molecules. This cholesterol is also responsible for synthesizing vitamin D, for synthesizing bile acids, and all the sex hormones, all the steroidal hormones, the cortisol, the mineralocorticoids, glucocorticoids, everything are obtained from cholesterol. The breakdown of cholesterol will give all these substances. So the synthesis of cholesterol majorly takes place in the liver. Around 60% of cholesterol synthesis takes place in the liver. Some part is also synthesized in the adrenal cortex, testes, and ovaries. And these are what are called as the major sites for cholesterol synthesis. The minor sites for cholesterol synthesis is the muscle, the aorta, and the adipose tissue. In the cell, the cytosol and the microsomes, these are responsible, or these are the places where the enzymes are present. They are partly present in the cytosol and they are partly present in the endoplasmic reticulum. So the site of cholesterol synthesis is the cytosol as well as the endoplasmic reticulum, and the synthesis begins from acetyl-CoA, the starting material or the principal precursor for formation of cholesterol is acetyl-CoA. Okay, so this is a very complex pathway where in the end a 27 carbon containing cyclic ring structure, which is visible to you on your screen, called as cholesterol, is formed. This is how on the structure the carbon atoms are numbered, which is visible to you on your screen. Now, other than forming the structural and functional part of the cell membrane, other than being a precursor for vitamin D and steroidal hormones, it is also an essential ingredient for formation of lipoproteins. Okay, and like we have seen previously also, bile acids are also formed from cholesterol, and these bile acids play a major role in the digestion process and in the absorption process of fats or fatty acids in the diet that you consume. Now the synthesis of cholesterol takes place in various stages, which involve the synthesis of HMG-CoA, followed by formation of melvanoate, then the production of what are called as isoprenoid units, then squalene synthesis, and finally squalene is converted to cholesterol. So we shall be seeing the cholesterol synthesis steps one by one in detail. For the production of one molecule of cholesterol, we require 18 moles of acetyl-CoA, 36 moles of ATP in the form of energy, along with 16 moles of NADPH. Okay, so it is quite an energy consuming and a demanding procedure, which is going to give you in the end the major sterol in our body, and that is cholesterol. So this is the first stage of cholesterol biosynthesis. This cholesterol biosynthesis step is involving two molecules or 2 moles of acetyl CoA, and these 2 moles or these 2 molecules of acetyl CoA are condensing together in the presence of thiolase enzyme to give acetoacetyl CoA. After this acetoacetyl CoA is formed, one more molecule of acetyl CoA is going to get added to this, and it is going to give beta hydroxy beta methyl glutaryl CoA, that is HMG CoA. So this is the step 1. The formation of HMG CoA from acetyl CoA is step 1, where initially 2 molecules of acetyl CoA combine in the presence of thiolase enzyme to form acetoacetyl CoA. This acetoacetyl CoA combines with a third molecule of acetyl CoA to give HMG CoA. Now from this HMG CoA, we are going to move to the second step, and that is formation of the mevalanoate. Okay, this mevalanoate has 6 carbon atoms. So this HMG CoA or beta hydroxy beta methyl glutaryl CoA, in the presence of HMG CoA reductase enzyme, it is going to form the mevalanoate, and this is, like I told you, the second step. From this mevalanoate, we now need to get what are called as isoprenoid units. So this mevalanoate, in the presence of phosphotransferase enzyme, the phosphate group will get added to this mevalanoate, and this OH atom or this OH will be replaced with the, or rather H will be replaced with phosphorus, and we will get 5-phosphomevalanoate. So this 5-phosphotransferase enzyme is transferring the phosphate at this position to give us 5-phosphomevalanoate. This 5-phosphomevalanoate in the presence of kinase enzyme will then get converted to 5-pyrophosphomevalanoate, followed by formation of 3-phospho-5-pyrophosphomevalanoate. So there are 2 times the kinase enzyme is acting back to back, and it is converting 5-phosphomevalanoate to 5-pyrophosphomevalanoate, and then finally to 3-phospho-5-pyrophosphomevalanoate. The structure is what I am showing you over here. Now decarboxylation of this 3-phospho-5-pyrophosphomevalanoate will give you the isopentenyl pyrophosphate structure. Okay, then this isopentenyl will undergo or will form its isomer. That means only the carbon atoms are going to get rearranged, and it is going to give you dimethyl pyrophosphate. So you see over here, in the case of delta 3 isopentenyl pyrophosphate, you see I am pointing out to a double bond, carbon double bond CH2. Okay, this blue thing that I am pointing out to. Now the rearrangement or isomerization of this molecule will take place, and when the isomerization will happen, it will give you dimethyl allyl pyrophosphate. The difference is the double bond has now shifted. Okay, from between these 2 carbon atoms, it was there. From these 2, it has now shifted to these 2. Okay, so the isomer formation of isopentenyl pyrophosphate has happened. Now once this dimethyl allyl pyrophosphate is formed, one molecule of dimethyl allyl pyrophosphate will be formed. Okay, then it will wait for the formation of another molecule of isopentenyl pyrophosphate, which means all these steps will be repeated till isopentenyl pyrophosphate is obtained from acetyl CoA, which means acetyl CoA will give HMG-CoA, will give mevalonate, will give isopentenyl pyrophosphate. Now we had, from the previous step, we had dimethyl allyl pyrophosphate, and second time when the reaction or biosynthetic synthetic pathway took place, we got isopentenyl pyrophosphate. Now this isopentenyl or delta 3 isopentenyl pyrophosphate and the dimethyl allyl pyrophosphate, both of them are going to react with each other, and after this reaction what we are going to get is the isoprenoid units. Okay, so first is geranyl pyrophosphate. It has 10, it is a intermediate with 10 carbon atoms. So these two are coming together to give a product which has 10 carbon atoms. Then again, this will combine with a second molecule of isopentenyl pyrophosphate. And from 10 carbon atoms, we will get 15 carbon atoms. Okay. Then this 15 carbon atom intermediate will then combine again with a second molecule of farnesyl pyrophosphate. Okay, please note over here, here you are going to have uh, com combining of dimethyl allyl pyrophosphate and isopentenyl pyrophosphate to give a product which has 10 carbon atoms. Now this 10 carbon atoms will get added with another 5 carbon atoms from isopentenyl pyrophosphate. So 10 plus 5, 15. This 15 carbon intermediate, the name is farnesyl pyrophosphate. Now this farnesyl pyrophosphate is having 15 carbons. Again, the entire step will be repeated. That means 5 carbon containing these two compounds will come together to give geranyl pyrophosphate, which has 10 carbon atoms. Then this second time formation of geranyl pyrophosphate will combine with another molecule of isopentenyl pyrophosphate. So 10 plus 5, 15. You will get the second molecule of farnesyl pyrophosphate. Now this, or rather these two molecules of farnesyl pyrophosphate, each farnesyl pyrophosphate containing 15 carbon atoms, it will come together to give you a 30 carbon, 15 plus 15. Okay, 15 plus 15 will give you 30 carbon atoms containing intermediate, which is squalene. So this is again one important intermediate, that is synthesis of squalene is an important step in the formation of cholesterol. Now this squalene which has been formed is going to undergo monooxygenase, or it is going to act in the presence of monooxygenase enzyme to form its epoxide. Okay, so it forms squalene 2,3 epoxide. Then it undergoes cyclization. Squalene 2,3 epoxide forms lanosterol. This lanosterol is converted to a molecule which we are all looking for, and that is cholesterol, which contains 27 carbon atoms. So from this squalene, which contained 30 carbon atoms, an intermediate, a series of reactions take place to form squalene 2,3 epoxide. Then it forms lanosterol, and finally it forms cholesterol. This step that I am talking about, from squalene 2,3 epoxide to cholesterol, this step mainly takes place in animals. I told you, bacteria, fungi, these substances or these microorganisms, they contain ergosterol. So they will have a deviation. The squalene 2,3 epoxide will not form lanosterol in their case. They will directly form ergosterol, and in the fungi, and in the plants it will form stigmasterol. Okay, but it is only in the animals through the cyclization process squalene 2,3 epoxide gets converted to lanosterol, and then finally cholesterol containing 27 carbon atoms or 27 carbon molecules. I shall repeat the entire synthesis of cholesterol once again. Please pay attention. You have two molecules of acetyl-CoA combining with each other to give acetoacetyl-CoA. This acetoacetyl-CoA will combine with the second molecule of third molecule of acetyl-CoA to combine and give beta hydroxy beta methyl glutaryl CoA. Okay, so HMG CoA is formed, which is the first step. This HMG CoA is going to undergo reduction in the presence of reductase enzyme to give a 6 carbon containing mevalonate. This 6 carbon containing mevalonate will undergo a series of reactions wherein there is involvement of kinase enzyme and transferase enzyme, and they both are majorly doing the addition of phosphorus groups to mevalonate, and this way they are converting it to isopentenyl pyrophosphate. This will then undergo isomerization. There is shifting of this carbon-carbon double bond. The position shifts to give dimethyl allyl pyrophosphate. Now you have one molecule of dimethyl allyl pyrophosphate with you. The second time all these reactions will happen and you will get isopentenyl pyrophosphate. This isopentenyl pyrophosphate which is formed will react with the previous step, dimethyl allyl pyrophosphate. So they are combining together. Each of them have 5 carbon atoms. Each compound comes together and together it forms a 10 carbon containing geranyl pyrophosphate. This 10 carbon containing intermediate will then combine with another molecule of isopentenyl pyrophosphate. So 10 plus 5, 15 to give you farnesyl pyrophosphate. This farnesyl pyrophosphate will be formed again for the second time. By the second time all these reactions will take place. 15 plus 15, 30. So 2 farnesyl pyrophosphate carbon 15 carbon containing intermediates will come together to give the 30 carbon containing squalene. Now till here the step is same in animals, in fungi, in the plants. After this, what happens is exclusive for plants, for fungi, and for human beings or animals. So after this, the squalene forms squalene 2,3 epoxide. In animals, this squalene 2,3 epoxide cyclizes to give lanosterol, and then finally the 27 carbon containing ring cholesterol. In animals, this squalene 2,3 epoxide forms stigmasterol, whereas in fungi it forms ergosterol. Now in the beginning of the class I told you that this is, or sterols or cholesterol is an integral part of our cell membrane. So if you see the phospholipid bilayer membrane, you see that cholesterol particles or cholesterol molecules are embedded inside this phospholipid bilayer. The same thing stands for fungi cells also. In the fungal cells also, the sterol is embedded in the phospholipid bilayer. Now, what is the difference? The difference is in the fungi, the sterol is ergosterol, and in the animals or human beings, it is cholesterol. Now, if you don't have this cholesterol or ergosterol or the stigmasterol in the phospholipid bilayer membrane of the cell, it is like the cell has no security. The cell membrane is not firm, it is not strong, and whatever contents are there of the cell inside the cell, the mitochondria, the nucleus, the cytosol, the endoplasmic reticulum, everything will leak out, because in the phospholipid bilayer membrane these sterols are respectively not present in plants, animals, as well as in the fungi. Okay, now this is exactly the base from which antifungal agents have been derived. In the fungi, The sterol that is present is ergosterol. This ergosterol is embedded inside the fungal cell. If you give a drug to the patient who is suffering from a fungal infection, where this squalene 2,3 epoxide will not get converted to ergosterol, okay, the person is suffering from fungal infection, and the fungal cell which is causing the infection, in that the conversion of squalene 2,3 epoxide to ergosterol is inhibited. And if you are able to inhibit this, then you have an antifungal agent. So there are a lot of antifungal agents whose activity is based on this cycle of cholesterol biosynthesis, and this is the base for it, that in fungi we have ergosterol, and it will inhibit the conversion of epoxide to ergosterol in the fungi, so that the cell membrane is weak. So this was all about what or how cholesterol is formed in the body. The last step, it will give you 26 carbon molecule which contains or which is called as cholesterol. Now once this cholesterol is formed, it is going to execute many of its functions, like it is going to maintain the cell membrane strong, it is going to be a part of the structural and functional unit of the cell membrane, and it also has other functions, like it has to act as a precursor to form steroidal hormones, vitamin D. It is going to help in the formation of bile acids as well, and all three, vitamin D3, bile acids, and the steroidal hormones, all three of them have their own functions. So cholesterol formation is not the last step. In fact, from here begin three more different cycles or three more different reactions. One reaction which is going to lead cholesterol to form vitamin D3. And you know that vitamin D3 is extremely essential for building up of our bones. And if you have vitamin D deficiency, then you are going to suffer from a lot of diseases related to bone, like osteoarthritis. Then it is responsible for the formation of bile acids. Bile acids are required for fatty acid, for the absorption of fatty acids. So if you don't have bile acids, absorption of fatty acids from the intestine shall become difficult. So to ease that, you are going to have the formation of bile acids. After this, the other function that it does is the formation of steroids. All the female sex hormones, male sex hormones, testes, and ovaries, which are responsible for generating them, they are all formed from cholesterol. Similarly, glucocorticoids and mineralocorticoids are also formed from cholesterol. So we call this entire process as fate of cholesterol, means what all happens to cholesterol. So this cholesterol which gets synthesized, it undergoes oxidation to form cholic acid, then it undergoes dehydroxylation, and through the process of dehydroxylation, it forms the secondary bile acids. After the secondary bile acids are formed, they are getting converted to glycolic acid and tarcholic acid, or they are also called as glycolates and torcolates, and they are the structure base is obtained from the amino acids taurine and glycine. So in glycolic acid, glycine is the base, whereas in torcolic acid, taurine is the base. And it again is one of the major bile acids that are formed in, especially in the liver, and they are going to enhance the absorption of fats or fatty acids from the intestine, so that it can be used for various purposes. So this is the cycle through which the glycolates and torcolates are formed through the degradation of cholesterol. And in the end, you see, from a 27 carbon atom ring of cholesterol, it forms what are called as glycolates and tarcolates, which are containing 24 carbon atoms. That is around 3 carbon atoms less than the parent molecule, that is cholesterol. And these bile salts, they are responsible for, like I told you, fat absorption, and they are released in the intestine. Now sometimes what happens is, if the cholesterol levels are high, then the bile acid or the bile salt levels also can be high. So the increase in levels of these bile acids, the condition is called as cholelithiasis, and in this, bile salts start getting deposited in the liver and the kidney and in the gallbladder, and it slowly leads to formation of stones, and they are called as kidney stones or liver stones or gallbladder stones. The size initially is very small, and however, as the days pass, as there is deposition of this glycolic acid and tarcholic acid, these salts or these stones will start growing, and they will cause a lot of pain, lot of discomfort, indigestion. The patient is not able to digest food properly, is not able to eat properly. There will be excessive weight loss because of this, and the final treatment for this is removal of the gallbladder through a surgery, because it is acting overactive, and it is not able to control the conversion of cholesterol to these both bile acids. This is one way in which degradation of cholesterol is happening. The second way is, you can get vitamin D from the biosynthesis of cholesterol. So cholesterol is converted to its intermediate, and that is 7-dehydrocholesterol, and this 7-dehydrocholesterol is going to form the pre-vitamin D3. Pre-vitamin D3 will get converted to form cholecalciferol, which is actually vitamin D3, and this forms the calcitriol. And both cholecalciferol and calcitriol, both are forms of vitamin D, in fact, and we cannot afford to have lower plasma levels of calcitriol as well as vitamin D3. Otherwise, it is going to lead to osteoporosis, weakening of the bone structure in the human beings. The third and final way in which the degradation of cholesterol happens is by converting cholesterol to steroidal hormones. So this is a major step, and many of the sex hormones which are generated over here, or many of the steps which are responsible for generation of these sex hormones or steroidal hormones, they act, or they become a primary target for the treatment of different sexual disorders. Okay, if the sexual disorders are related mainly to women, then estrogen, progesterone levels have to be adjusted. If they are related to men, then the testosterone, androgen level has to be adjusted. And if both are normal, and the biosynthesis of glucocorticoids and mineralocorticoids is happening, then in this case also you have several drugs which can increase the production of these glucocorticoids and mineralocorticoids, or you can decrease the production of glucocorticoids and mineralocorticoids. So you see on your screen over here a detailed cycle which involves conversion of cholesterol to androgens, estrogens, as well as glucocorticoids and mineralocorticoids. So cholesterol forms pregnenolone. One part of pregnenolone forms progesterone, then it forms 11-deoxycorticosterone, and finally corticosterone. This same pregnenolone can form 17-alpha hydroxypregnenolone, which then forms dehydroepiandrosterone. This dehydroepiandrosterone forms androstenedione, which then can give us either the female sex hormones or they can give the male sex hormones. And the female sex hormones are estrogen and estradiol, and testosterone is the male sex hormone. Okay, so these are the three products, or these are the three ways in which cholesterol is going to get degraded and it is going to break down to form three essential chemicals which are required in the body. One is glycolate and tarcholate. The second is vitamin D, and the third is the production of estradiol as well as testosterone. Now, no doubt, there is high importance of cholesterol, and it is a major requirement in the body, especially when if it is having so many important functions in the body. However, we cannot afford to have situations where the cholesterol levels are highly elevated. In healthy individuals, the total plasma cholesterol is present in the range of 150 to 200 mg per dl. Infants usually have less than 100 mg per dl of cholesterol. However, when the cholesterol levels increase in the plasma by more than 200 mg per dl value, and then we say that this condition is hypercholesteremia. There is another condition also which is called as hypocholesteremia, where it falls to less than 100 mg per dl in the plasma, which is a very rare case. Majorly, you will see patients suffering from hypercholesteremia or hypertension or excessive presence of cholesterol. So when this cholesterol is present in excessive amounts, it is a vicious cycle. It is like you are putting on weight. That is why you are having diabetes mellitus, development of diabetes mellitus. That is why you have hypercholesteremia, or you have hypercholesteremia. That is why you are suffering from diabetes mellitus. So it is like they go hand in hand together. You cannot say this caused this. It is like if one is caused, the other will happen. The other will, if the other is happening, the first one will definitely happen. So the different disorders that hypercholesteremia could lead us is, or it is present in various conditions. Like if a patient is suffering from diabetes, he will definitely have this issue of hypercholesteremia. A hypothyroid patient, that means if a patient is having low levels of T3 and T4 hormones, in those conditions also there will be development of hypercholesteremia. Nephrotic syndrome and obstructive jaundice are also some of the diseases associated with hypercholesteremia, along with coronary heart disease. Now, this coronary heart disease is also called as atherosclerosis, and when the levels of cholesterol are increasing higher and higher, they start getting deposited in the blood vessels, and they start making the blood vessels narrow and thick. Now, any which ways, when a person is aging, the veins or the blood vessels are becoming narrow. However, in this condition, because of the deposition of cholesterol in the blood veins or in the blood vessels, the situation is further aggravated, and the vessels start becoming narrower and narrower, and finally it could lead to complete blockage of that particular vein or artery, whichever is undergoing that hypercholesteremia, and it could lead to heart attack or atherosclerosis. It could lead to other different types of um, diseases also. Now, not all of cholesterol is bad. We have this assumption and presumption in our body, in our mind, sorry, that for our body cholesterol is bad. We have already seen till now it is involved in three biosynthetic pathways. However, it is termed as bad cholesterol and good cholesterol, wherein the good cholesterol acts as a metabolite for all these portions in the body, for all these substances in the body, the steroidal hormones, vitamin D3, as well as the uh, bile acids, glycolic acid and tarcholic acid. However, there is also something which is called as bad cholesterol. When cholesterol molecule is attached with LDL, that is low density lipoproteins, when that attachment is there, then you are going to be in serious trouble, and you are going to start developing atherosclerosis. Narrowing of the blood vessels in the body will start. Okay, so they are LDL cholesterols, which are highly dangerous. They are lethal, and they can cause even eventual death. The other type is HDL cholesterol, where the cholesterol moiety is attached with HDL or high density lipoproteins, and these are good lipoproteins or good fatty acids that you should have in your body. It is undesirable that you have low levels of HDL. You should always have high levels of HDL and low levels of LDL. So this is about hypercholesteremia, atherosclerosis, the different diseases that excessive of cholesterol can cause. And like I said, the reasons for this hypercholesteremia could be many. Eating a lot of fried food, high consumption of PUFA or oil which is PUFA, frying the food very often in a PUFA oil, then no dietary restriction on cholesterol fat intake, and high consumption of carbohydrate diet, no exercise. In these pandemic conditions, we are not able, we are just sitting at home studying, writing, we are doing these things. So this is a very bad lifestyle. So all this is going to lead hypercholesteremia, and it is going to hamper the functioning. So if you want to treat hypercholesteremia, you will need to switch over from MUFA to PUFA. PUFA is better than MUFA comparatively, but in that also, like I told you, overconsumption of PUFA also can cause, or PUFA oil can cause hypercholesteremia. So fried foods have to be restricted. Then we have to include more amount of plant sterols, like you have to include in the diet a lot of plant-based food. You have medicines also. There are drugs which like lovastatin. There are drugs like clofebrate which inhibit this action of formation of cholesterol. They are binding, or they are inhibiting the formation of lovastatin. Sorry, formation of cholesterol by using lovastatin or statin inhibitory drugs, and they are acting on the HMG-CoA reductase enzyme. We similarly have clofebrate, which helps in activity of the lipoproteins, and it brings down the values of lipoprotein. So this is about the diseases related to cholesterol, hypercholesteremia. One term that I told you before was hypocholesteremia, which is a decrease in the plasma cholesterol level. And I told you it is a very uncommon or a less common type of disorder, and it could happen, or the situations which could lead to hypocholesteremia is hyperthyroidism. Hypo and hyper. So hypothyroidism causes hypercholesteremia, but hyperthyroidism will cause hypocholesteremia, pernicious anemia, absorption of less. There is malabsorption of nutrients in the yeah, small intestine, or there is jaundice that that somebody is suffering from. In all these conditions, the patient will suffer from hypocholesteremia. Okay, so to just have a recap, what we did is we saw the biosynthesis of cholesterol in various steps. Before that, we saw the major and minor sites in the cell where cholesterol biosynthesis is happening. Then the enzymes which are involved in cholesterol biosynthesis. Who is the precursor? The principal precursor is acetyl-CoA. Then we have seen how acetyl-CoA forms HMG-CoA. HMG-CoA forms mevalonate. Mevalonate forms isopentenyl pyrophosphate and dimethyl alanine pyrophosphate. These then combined in permutation and combination steps to give us the 30 carbon member squalene ring system. You see, this is the open chain ring system. This has to close to form the cholesterol. So then this open chain 30 member carbon intermediate squalene then forms squalene epoxide. Squalene epoxide in animals forms lanosterol, and then finally cholesterol is produced. Then we have seen the degradation of cholesterol. While it is being degraded also, it is being very beneficial, and it is giving a lot of advantages in the formation of glycolic and tarcholic acid, that is formation of bile acids. It is also responsible for formation of vitamin D. Both cholecalciferol and calcitriol both are required for healthy bones, and it also involved in the formation of male sex hormones, female sex hormones, as well as glucocorticoids and mineralocorticoids. We are ending it with the high levels of cholesterol in the body or in the blood, that is hypercholesteremia, the causes and the treatment, and the other changes, lifestyle modifications that can help us in overcoming hypercholesteremia. And finally, hypocholesteremia, the different stages because of which we could lead to hypocholesteremia, and with this we complete the part of cholesterol metabolism. Okay.